The Rivian IPO is here. We are on the eve of it beginning to trade. In this video, I'm going to give you an update with details on the Rivian IPO date, pricing, valuation, and how you can get Rivian stock for yourself. And if you watch to the end, I'll give you some details of some additional Rivian coverage that I have planned for the channel. If you've been waiting for Rivian to go public and are looking to buy some shares, this video is for you. Welcome to Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise, your channel for DIY investing information. I'm Kevin, and today I want to follow up on my last week's video on the Rivian IPO. In that video, I shared my analysis of the company and my personal thoughts on if buying Rivian stock makes sense. If you saw it, don't worry, I'm not going to repeat all of that today. But if you haven't seen that video, you might find it helpful to check it out after you watch this one. I'll post a link for you in the description. Today we're going to focus more on the actual nuts and bolts of the IPO itself, including when it will start to trade, the valuation, the pricing of the IPO shares, and who qualifies to possibly be able to get those shares at the IPO price. And for those of you who want to buy Rivian stock but are new to investing in IPOs, I'll give you some important information to know about IPOs in general and apply it to Rivian. As we get started today, there is one thing I do want to ask you guys from the last video because I didn't get many responses and because I'm really curious about this. And that is, just looking at the vehicles, not the stock or the company, which truck do you personally prefer the look of? The Rivian R1T, which is on the top of the screen, or the Tesla Cybertruck? Now, I already told you that I prefer the look of the Rivian because I like the traditional truck look it has, but I also know I'm older than a lot of you, so I'm interested in knowing which one you like more. And maybe to learn if I'm starting to become out of touch with what's in. So please take a second or two and let me know which one you prefer in the comments. I think it might be interesting to see which truck has more interest, and if we get enough responses, maybe get an idea which truck might end up having a higher demand, which would be a good thing to know from an investing perspective. Alright, so as I record this, Rivian's IPO hasn't happened yet, but it will soon. Very soon. In fact, we expect the IPO to happen later today, which is, as I record this, Tuesday, November 9th. Now for those of you new to IPOs, this is not where you can publicly trade for the stock. The actual IPO, or initial public offering, is traditionally where institutional investors and bankers buy IPO shares at a set price determined by the company and its underwriters based on demand. It's usually hard, if not impossible, for retail investors like you and me to be able to buy shares of a hot IPO like Rivian's at the IPO price. But in this case, Rivian did allow for some allotments that could be available to retail investors. So who among us could possibly qualify to buy Rivian IPO shares? Well, one way for someone to get some shares is if you're a SoFi customer, a company that I previously covered on the channel when they were a SPAC, and if you were with me back then, you might remember I also shared the news of them announcing their plans to begin offering IPOs in a video on the day that the news broke earlier this year. In Rivian's IPO prospectus, they informed us that they made an agreement to offer up to 0.4% of the IPO shares of Rivian stock to retail investors through SoFi. So you have to be a SoFi customer, and if you are, you potentially could get an allotment of shares based on their process of how they distribute them. Since Rivian's IPO includes 135 million shares of stock, that potentially gives SoFi up to about 540,000 shares to distribute through its program. Now, another way to possibly get IPO shares is through a directed share program that is only eligible to U.S. customers who had standing pre-orders as of September 30th, 2021. Since their public filing didn't come out until October, there's no way that the average person would have known this beforehand. To meet that qualification, the customer would have had to either have an active eligible pre-order or have accepted delivery of the pre-ordered vehicle. They also offer this program to directors, officers, or employees of the company. So if you work for the company, you probably already know this. So basically, unless you're in one of those situations, you probably won't be able to buy any shares until Rivian stock starts to trade on the public market. But before I jump ahead to when that happens, let's talk about the latest pricing range that Rivian expects to price their shares at the IPO. As of their third amended filing that came out last Friday, Rivian is now expecting to price their shares between $72 and $74, which is up over 22% higher from the $57 to $62 range that I mentioned in the analysis video last week. And keep in mind, even this new price is not a guarantee of where it will sell, but just an expected or predicted range based on input from their underwriters of the stock and the feedback that they received during their roadshow, which is basically where the company provides presentations and information to drum up interest in potential investors. So the shares could actually sell outside of that range, either higher than $74 or lower than $72. And depending on the interest, they could also decide to sell more or less shares of their stock than what they plan to sell, which is called upsizing when they sell more, or downsizing when they sell less, which again can happen for any IPO. For the Rivian stock offering, they are expecting to sell, as I had just mentioned a minute ago, 135 million shares. With the amount of interest there has been for a Rivian IPO, which again, we've already seen them up their expected pricing by over 20%, I don't expect for them to downsize, but would not be surprised at all if they upsize their offering. When I get the details of the actual pricing of Rivian IPO shares, I'll put out a community post to keep you updated, so definitely keep your notification bell turned on so you can see it as soon as I share the information. Because I know these posts can get lost in your feed, I'll also post an update on Instagram. If you don't follow me there, you can find me by using the link that I have in the description. Now regardless, whatever price the shares are actually sold at, remember that the price is just the Rivian IPO price, not the price you necessarily will be able to buy it for on the open market. Before I get more on how you can buy Rivian shares on the market, let's talk about what the new range means for Rivian's valuation. If Rivian stock hypothetically is priced at the middle of the range at $73, which again we won't know until the actual IPO, but if they do price at $73, the company will raise just under $9.9 billion and be valued at just under $70 billion. More than Honda, and within striking distance of Ford, who's now up to around $80 billion with their latest run in their stock, and GM, who is around $86 billion. And they've delivered under 200 cars to date. Wow. It just seems crazy, doesn't it? It's all about the future with this company. Now on the other hand, they're way behind Tesla and they're now over $1 trillion market cap, which also seems crazy, but investors love both of these hot EV companies. Alright, so let's now talk about how you can get your hands on the stock. Now barring something crazy happening, the IPO will price today and then the stock will be listed on the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol RIVN and start publicly trading tomorrow, Wednesday, November 10th. So where to put an order in for it? Any brokerage or trading platform in the US will allow you to buy Rivian stock. Now if you're not in the US, which I know many of you are not, you would need to be dealing with a brokerage that has access to the US markets to be able to buy shares. So if you don't have that access, you're probably out of luck. Now a lot of you guys in the past have asked me if you can trade new IPOs on Robinhood. So I'll tell you up front, you should be able to get some RIVN shares on the app. Just keep in mind that the shares you'll be able to get will be ones that start to trade publicly. So don't get confused with their new IPO access program. That program is only for IPO shares priced at the IPO price, and Rivian did not announce an allotment to Robinhood, only so if I received that, as I had mentioned earlier. So now let's talk about when it will start to trade. We already said it will start to trade on Wednesday the 10th, but keep in mind with most IPOs, particularly the big ones, they don't start trading at the opening bell at 9:30 Eastern. They like to do it later where they can get all the attention and promotion on CNBC to themselves by doing it after the market has already opened. Up front, I don't know exactly when the stock will start to trade. Nobody at this point can tell you that for sure. But most IPOs don't start trading until after 11, and sometimes not even up until after 1 o'clock p.m., although that's usually before that. To help you guys out, I plan to put out another community post when Rivian stock begins to trade, so again, have that notification bell on so you can see it as soon as I post it. And that reminds me of another thing for some of you to be aware of. For some platforms, the ticker symbol sometimes isn't available until the day the stock begins to trade, and sometimes not even first thing in the morning. So if you type in RIVN and don't see the stock showing up, just keep in mind that they might not have it set up yet in their system. Now, if the stock is trading and you still don't see it as being available, then your brokerage or trading platform has a problem. Now, this gets us to the point where Rivian stock will begin to trade. And if you followed IPOs in the past, you know that the IPO price is not where the stock will open on the secondary markets. Sometimes not even close. Remember Snowflake? How about Airbnb or DoorDash? All traded well above their IPO price, which isn't necessarily a good thing for the actual companies themselves. It actually means that those companies left money on the table. That's a big reason some companies have decided to go the direct listing route. I don't want to get off track here, but if you'd like to learn more about IPOs and why some companies decided to take the direct listing route, I'll link a video for you in the description. So back to Rivian. Let's again assume that the IPO is priced at the midpoint of the range and sells at $73. Once trading begins the day after the IPO, which is what typically happens, the shares will trade at the price someone else is willing to buy them, as well as the price someone else is willing to sell them at. So you might be surprised to see them trade at a much higher number. That's just the way it goes for IPOs, and that's why it's more difficult for retail investors who don't get that IPO set price. So knowing the uncertainty of how the stock will trade, if you're putting in an order, think about the top price per share you're willing to pay for Rivian stock, and then I would recommend you put in a limit order at that price so you cap at how much you spend per share. If you put in a straight market order and the stock doubles out of the gate, which can happen, you might find yourself putting in a lot more money than you ever expected. Now you never know, and I can't predict this, but there is often a pullback for a lot of these IPOs, either later in the first day or sometime during the first couple of weeks, so you could choose not to buy on day one if it comes out priced a lot higher than you expected. Whatever the case, I would suggest that you buy the stock based on some type of plan that you've come up with beforehand and not just let your emotions take over in the heat of the trading frenzy. That's usually a recipe for overpaying. So for fun, I'd love to hear from everyone where you think that the stock will trade on the first day. So let me know at what price you think the stock will open up at. Of course, you have to put it in the comments before it starts to trade. The winner will get a new R1T on me. No, of course not. I wish I had one to give away. But I will give the winner a shout out. And not just any shout out, but a solid "you were better than the rest of us" shout out. I might either do this on a post-Rivian IPO video or, as I've been thinking about this, possibly on a live stream. It's been a while since I've done one, so I might just have to pull one together. If I do, and I'd like to do it on Wednesday evening after the stock closes its first day, I'll have to see if I can pull it off as far as time. But if I can, I'll post a time for you guys so that you can hopefully join me live. Okay, between this video and my analysis video, I think that should just about get you ready for Rivian's IPO. Hopefully you found both of them helpful, and if you did, please push that like button. That not only lets me know that you enjoy videos like these, but it also helps me get more traction on YouTube, which really is important for me to be able to keep doing this. And if this is your first time watching one of my videos and you've stuck around this far, definitely consider subscribing. We'd love to have you join the community. It's totally free, and it'll make sure you don't miss any new videos as soon as they come out. And if you're interested in seeing some of my non-financial type of videos, I hope you check out my new second channel, How To with Kevin, where I show you other types of things I've learned to tackle. It's been a variety of things so far, and I could definitely use your support there as we're just getting started out. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Good luck in trading. And until next time, have a great day.